Hello, so it's Saturday night and I am recording my podcast number 3. Thank you so much for all the feedback that I've had on my podcast so far. They've all been really positive and really lovely. And a couple of people have said to me that it was an absolute pleasure to watch, which is really touching. And I'm really pleased that you're enjoying it. So I'm Claire. In case you didn't know, Claire McInnes, and I own a studio called Beautiful Things, and we run classes for craft and sewing in Brentwood in Essex. But I've always been crafty, and so this podcast is really more about me and my personal journey and what I'm up to. I've also got lots of other videos on my YouTube channel which are more about my sewing adventures, so my dressmaking and fabric hauls, pattern hauls, that kind of thing. But this podcast is more about knitting, crochet and my general crafty life. So I want to just point a few things out to you before we get started. I believe it's called general housekeeping. See, I'm learning this podcasting speak. I have a Ravelry page. You can find me on there as Arty Farty Mac. And it would appear that the done thing for podcasters is to set up a Ravelry group, which I have now done. So you can find that on Ravelry. It's the Beautiful Things group, and I'll make sure that there is a post on there for each of the podcasts that I do so that you can comment and leave me any messages or any feedback. You can also find me on Facebook. We are Beautiful Things Classes. I'm on Instagram as, again, Arty Farty Mac, and you can find me on Twitter where I tweet just as Claire McInnes. But always you can leave me a comment on the YouTube post below, and I do normally try to get back to you. At the moment I've got lots of lovely subscribers and you're all leaving me great comments and I'm managing to respond to you all, but obviously as that gets busier, hopefully, I can't make promises, but I'll do my best to come back to you if you've got any questions. So I'm going to start talking about knitting in general, my journey and sort of podcasts. I've been trying to be really good recently. I'm only just learning to knit and I'm sort of very, very slowly getting there. But I'm trying to make time to knit. I am a super busy person. I run my studio, I work full time running my studio. I've got 2 small children and obviously the house to look after and a hubby to look after. If I turn this way, you can probably see him just over my shoulder. He's in his man shed doing man things. It's a Saturday night and the kids are desperately trying to get to sleep, and I was supposed to have friends around for dinner this evening. Unfortunately, they've had to cancel on us. So I took the opportunity to record my podcast. Hence the light is a little bit different. It's getting dark. And tonight I have a gin and tonic on the go. So hopefully I'll get to the end of the podcast without getting too sozzled, because I have already had a glass of wine as well. So what was I saying? Yeah, knitting, watching podcasts, getting into podcasts. I've been trying to set time aside for myself to actually sit down and knit, to spend probably at least an hour every evening making time for me and making time for my knitting. Knitting is slow. It's not like crochet. It takes time. And I've realised that I need to actually focus on it a little bit more probably than I would sitting doing some granny squares watching telly. So I've been using the time effectively. I cannot stand wasting time. I'm somebody that can't sit and watch telly and not do something else. I have to have my laptop on by the side of me, or I have to be crocheting or stitching, hand sewing. I have to be doing something. I can't just sit and watch telly. To me, that is a complete waste of time. The same as I can't get into these silly games like Candy Crush or anything like that where I'm just constantly wasting time. I have to be doing something with my time. The only exception to that rule, though, is Game of Thrones. Now, I have to concentrate when I watch that because I do lose the plot quite easily. And we have a strict rule: no electricals, curtains closed, lights off, watch Game of Thrones. But that's 1 hour once a week for about 9 weeks, so I can cope with that. But so now I've been spending time watching other podcasts. I've been sitting down for an hour every evening in my comfy chair down there in the corner, sitting there with my laptop watching my YouTube podcasts. Now, I've already mentioned a couple that I really like, Vero from Along the Lanes and Katie from Inside Number 23, and So Over It as well. But I've been making time for me, so I have discovered a couple more on my journey. I still haven't found any crochet podcasts though that I like. Thank you for all your sewing recommendations though. I've been enjoying some of those. But the two that I've found subsequently are Sticks and Twine by a gentleman called Eric, who is in Canada. He's actually very good friends with Katie from Inside Number 23. He's good, and it's really interesting to see a YouTube podcast from a man's perspective. I had a male sewing pupil the other day, and it is like when they walk through the door, it's a bit kind of, oh, there's a man, which sounds awful, but it's true. We don't get many gentlemen in the doors of Beautiful Things HQ. I think we've had 3, maybe 4 in about 3.5 years. And I think it's the same with knitting and crochet. There's plenty of them out there, but whether they're prepared to admit it is a whole other thing. So I'm really enjoying watching Eric. The other person who I'm really enjoying is, by the sounds of it, a very, very well-known podcaster who's been around for a long, long while, and that's Kirsten from, or Kristen. Is it Kirsten? Kristen? I've written it down. Hang on. It is Kirsten, and she has a podcast called Yarngasm, but her company is Woolenvine or Woolenvine Yarns, and she's an indie hand dyer. But I really like her podcast. She's very young. She lives in Brooklyn in New York. You can hear all the sirens going past in her house while she's filming, which is really interesting. But she's also into sewing as well, so she sews quite a lot. And she's into her dressmaking, but it is really about the yarn, her vlog. So I've been really enjoying watching those two. So again, it's making time for me, really. So I'll just show you quickly what is on my needles. Nothing's changed, unfortunately, from last week. As I said, I'm really, really slow, but I have made a little bit more progress on my sock. So I did have a slight disaster. I settled down the other night to sort the heel out and pick up my stitches. And when I came to pick up my stitches, I shaped my heel perfectly, came to pick my stitches up, and I only had 9 down either side when I should have had 15. And I realised that before I'd shaped my heel, I'd actually only done 14 rows instead of repeating 2 rows 14 times. So I was therefore quite a few stitches short, so I did have to pull it back. I called upon the lovely Leslie to come and hold my hand while I took my stitches back, but she was very helpful. Rather than doing it for me, she did watch me slowly do it, and I picked them all back up again. I put them all back on my needles. I knitted my 14 rows, I shaped my heel again, then I picked up my 15 stitches and I got there. So I was cross with myself for making a silly mistake, but I was also very proud of myself for being able to fix that mistake. And that's one of the things that I'm struggling with in learning to knit, is that I can't fix my mistakes very easily. So I was very pleased that I did that. So I'm now, I think, 15 rows into my long 48 rows of foot, sorry, and then I'll be ready to shape my toe. So I'm getting there. I'd like to think that by the next time I do a podcast, my sock will be finished, but we'll see. But what I can show you while we're talking socks, look at this. My mum has finished her socks. In one respect, I'm very happy for her. And I'm very happy because they're going to be mine. And they're pink and they're sparkly. Check that out. See the twinkle. But also, she's beaten me to it. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. But then if you think about it, she's been knitting for years. So don't worry about it. Hitchhiker. Not really got much further with that. I have done another 3 pattern repeats. So it is getting there. It does look a bit bigger. But it's going to take some time. But I'm off for 4 days in a caravan with my mum, my dad and the children and my husband next weekend. And that's an ideal project to take with me because it is nice and easy. It's on circulars, it's not going to fall off. I can just knit and not concentrate too much with it. So I'm going to take that one with me and hopefully try and finish it. But I did realise I hadn't ever shown you the actual yarn that I was using for that. And it's here. I've got a skein of it still yet to cake up. Which reminds me, skein or skein? I say skein, friends say skein. What's the decision on that? Okay, comment below. Skein, skein. I'd love to know. This is a sock weight yarn. It's by Little Boo Yarns. I love Little Boo Yarns. Little Boo is who has dyed my rainbow socks that I'm working on as well. It's a really nice quality. It is sock weight merino, nylon and silver sparkle. And there's 400 metres there. Little Boo is hand dyed in Derbyshire. And the skeins work out at £15 per skein. Now I don't think that's too bad. They don't tend to snag. They're really lovely to work with, and for someone who's not used to working with thin yarns, I'm getting on really well with that, so I can highly recommend those. Sneeze. No, I'm not. So that's what's on my needles. What's on my hook? So I showed you last week the tea cosy that I was working on and all the little bits and pieces for the cactus garden. I did get all of those done, and yesterday I spent the day 7 hours straight filming both of those courses. It's absolutely shattering, hence today I've had a day with no classes because I knew that I would be absolutely wiped out, and I was. But I'm pleased to say I've got both courses in the can, and they will be released and edited in the next few weeks, and the cactus one is due for release exclusively at Yarndale, and then the tea cosy will be released I think probably in October to give you time that you can make it in time for Christmas. So there's only one thing on my hook at the moment, and that is my poncho along. Now this is a class that we're doing at Beautiful Things. It's to make the Simply Crochet cowl neck poncho that was in the issue a couple of years ago now, I think, maybe 18 months ago. I've already made it and I've blogged about it, and it's on my Ravelry. I'll put the link down in the show notes below so that you can have a look at my vlog about it. But the poncho along is basically over 3 months, and you get one class each month. And last week we had our cowl neck class, so everybody learned how to do this really lovely rib. It's such a beautiful effect. It's made simply with back post and front post trebles, which sounds really scary, but actually once you get into the swing of it, it's really lovely and easy. This reminds me of an accordion. I should play music. So I'm halfway through my neck. I need to get another 5 rows done, and then it will be ready for next week's class, when we're going to start to add on the granny stripe main body part. And then next month we'll do a class where we'll do the ribbing on the bottom and the tassels. So I'm making this for somebody else. I can't tell you too much because it is a surprise, and it's not for me, and it's very rare that I make things for other people because I do have such little time. But I'm using that lovely silver to do the cowl and to do the tassels and the rib at the bottom, and the stripes in the middle will be black, charcoal grey and cream. So these could prove tricky to work with at night, so I'm going to have to be careful how I do that. I'm using a good old favourite of mine, Stylecraft Special. It's a lovely, lovely yarn, but this is the Aran weight. Now I've not worked with Aran before. I'm a big fan of Chunky, and I like their DK, but my last poncho that I made was in Chunky, and it is just a little bit too heavy and a little bit too hot. So I figured I'd go and I'd try the Aran, and it's working up beautifully. It is unbelievably soft. It's really lovely to work with. And I think the person who's going to be the happy recipient of this gift will be very, very pleased with it when it's finished. So I should be able to show you its progress as we go along, and hopefully I'll be able to share with you some of the other ponchos that my pupils are working on. You should be able to see pictures of those on our Facebook page when they're completed. So that's all that's on my hook for now. So I wanted to go on a little bit more of a sock journey with you. I've enjoyed making the socks so far. Did you see me try to spit that out? I don't like saying that I'm enjoying knitting, can you tell? But I have enjoyed making my socks so far. It's been really, really challenging, but it's something that I think I'm going to be super proud of. But I know the one thing that bugs me the most, and that's working on those DPNs. I am constantly fearful that my stitches are going to fall off. And I'm constantly stabbing myself on the inside of my hand. I mean, just to show you, they really are short. If I show that in comparison to my mouth, so you can see how short they are. So when I'm working on it, this bit here is just constantly digging in my hand. And I've tried longer ones, but then you get all fingers and thumbs, and it's just as confusing and just as hard work. So I think I need to master socks on a circular needle. So I know I'm a bit late for the train. It's probably gone. It passed ages ago, but everyone has been working on socks on circular needles, and they've been doing the Winwick Mums socks. They've been really, really popular here in the UK. So I'm going to have a go. I've downloaded the pattern, and I've got myself some yarn, and I've got some hooks, I've got a needle, so I'll talk to you about that in a minute. And I'm going to have a go at the Winwick Mums sock. Not until I finish this sock, so it'll be a couple of weeks' time before I get started. But I bought myself, what have I done with it? Here it is. I've bought myself a needle. This was by recommendation from Vero on Into the Lanes. Lanes, what's it called? Vero's vlog. Oh my goodness me. Never mind, I'll tell you in a minute. Along the lanes, thank you. These are the higher sharps, and this is a tiny circular needle. I really don't know how I'm going to get on with this, but it really is small. You can see it's tiny weeny little sharps and a tiny little circular needle. But this is their 9-inch, which is the smallest that they go. It's 23 centimetres. And we are going to have a go at making some socks using the Winwick Mum method on these higher sharps. So the yarn that I'm going to use is my custom dye. It's Little Boo again. I do love her. It's custom dye, and it's in my Beautiful Things colour scheme, hot pink, brown and lime green. I ordered 2 skeins of this yonks ago, and I caked them both. I've made a cowl, which I've got here to show you, with one of them. This is the Zooty Owl cowl. This is crochet. It's a corner to corner cowl, and it's just granny clusters. It's nice. It's just literally a big loose loopy one, so you can wear it just loose around your neck. And it's really comfy and really cosy. That was just made using 1 skein, but I am quite a loose crocheter. I made it with a 5mm hook. And I know Viv, one of my regulars, she's made lots of these using the Little Boo yarns, and she tends to use about 1.5 skeins to 2 skeins, but then her tension's a lot tighter than mine. So I was quite pleased to say I had a skein left. So I'm going to use this to make my socks, mainly because I know the yarn, I've worked with it lots, I really like it, and I haven't got to think about trying to learn something new when I'm trying to concentrate on working on these circular needles. So I've spoken to my mum, I've spoken to Leslie, and I've spoken to Viv, people that I know, and they want to join me making some Winwick Mums socks. So I thought, I'm sure this has been done before. I know loads of people have cowls on their podcasts. So we are going to have a Winwick Mums sock along, and we'll be starting that in the next couple of weeks. So when you see my next podcast and I show you my finished socks, hopefully, I should be able to show you either that I'm ready to start or that I've started my Winwick Mums sock along. So I'll put a thread on the Ravelry group, and if you want to join us, then pop on there and say hello. Let us know what you're planning on using with regards to your yarn, and keep us posted on your progress. I'm not going to make an official start date or an official end date. It'll just be really nice to be knitting along with some of you, and hopefully we'll get some more experienced knitters on there who know their stuff when it comes to socks, and might be able to offer myself and my mum a little bit of advice if we get stuck. So that's our plans with regards to socks. Now I have a few gadgets to show you. It's very hot this evening. I bought myself some new gadgets. Katie at Inside Number 23 was sent one of these recently, and she showed it off. It's a little digital stitch counter. See if it's going to focus. There we go. You can press your row counter every time you do a row, and then you can reset it here, and you wear it on your finger. So while you're doing your knitting, when you finished your row, you just press your row counter and on it goes. And I'm really enjoying using this. Now, where it's clever, let's say I just knitted 10 rows and I put it up to number 10, and I put it down, go to bed, get up in the morning, get on with my day, come home in the evening, start my knitting again. When I tap it, it will come back to life, and it will be remembering that it was on 10 rows, so I can carry on. Now, I think that's very clever, but there's a little bit of me that doesn't trust it. So I'm using it while I'm working, so through the evening I will let it count up my rows for me. But when I'm finished with my knitting at the end of the night, I am just making a note of what row I'm on and popping it in my project bag. For my own sanity, I think, but also because I'm often working on more than one project at once. So unless I had a digital ring counter for each of my projects, then it's not particularly practical. But I do really love it. I'm really enjoying using it, and I have ordered a big batch of them for the studio so that we'll have them available in the shop, but we'll also have them available when we're at Yarndale, so come and see us if you're coming. And I've ordered all sorts of colours. They come in lovely bright colours. So that's my little gadget for the week. The other things that I've ordered, I have ordered a Gorillapod. This was something, again, that popped up in Along the Lanes video. Vera's very good at her cinematography, and she mentioned the Gorillapod. It's basically a tripod, but it's very super bendy, like an octopus. And you can clip it onto the top of your laptop screen, up on a shelf, on a tree. You can get all sorts of angles, which means I can do a bit more tutorial filming. I'm hoping to do a bit more filming of tutorials for crochet and also for some sewing as well. I did have a little play with it earlier on this evening. I've been doing some sewing at home, and I set it up and filmed a fast motion video of me making a project bag. So I'm sure that will appear at some point on my YouTube, but I did really enjoy it. It was fun to work with. Rather than use my camera that I'm recording on now, I used my mobile phone on fast record, and I also bought myself a little grip mount. So you can see that there. This grips on top of the tripod, and it grabs hold of your mobile phone on either side. So it's designed specifically for working with phones. So I'm hoping to get a lot of use out of that. It was just from good old Amazon, and I'm let you know how I get on with that. The last gadget that I've bought, I've invested in some sock blockers. I don't really know what they're for, to be honest. Well, I do. I know they're for blocking one's socks, but I'm not really sure why I would need to block a sock when I'm just going to put it on my foot and wear it. But obviously I appreciate it's nice to show off your socks on your sock blockers, and it's nice to make sure that they are properly shaped. So I've ordered some sock blockers. These just came from eBay. They're nice wooden ones. I know lots of people use the blue Knit Pro ones, but they were nearly £20 a pair, and I couldn't justify that for something I'm probably not going to use that often. So these were, I think, £5.99. So I have one more thing to show you before I do my prize draw for my giveaway that I promised. Today I have been busy making more bits and bobs to sell at Yarndale. I have spent the day in my studio making lots of little notions pouches and lots of project bags, zip up project bags. But while I was at it, I took advantage of working through my stash and clearing some of my stash, and while I was looking through the drawer I came across some Pikachu fabric. Now I don't know who else is watching that is as addicted as I am to Pokemon Go. It's just been released in the UK, although my family and I have been playing it for just over a week, and we did manage to get a cheeky hack version on our phones. My husband isn't interested in it at all, but my son and myself are really into it, and my daughter's enjoying it as well. We've been spending a good hour or so in our local park almost every day this week catching Pokemons, and I did find myself stopping at the Poke Gym on the way to work this morning just to see if I could get into a quick battle. I know it's sad, but it's really enjoyable, and I'm sure I'm not alone in secretly being pleased to be a parent of a child that enjoys Pokemon, to the point I have actually had to set him up on my old mobile phone because I wasn't enjoying sharing my phone with him when we were out and about. But the Pikachu fabric was discovered, and so I took advantage of making project bags today, and I've made 2 of these Pokemon project bags. So they're zip bags, they're fully lined, they've got a little tab on them for you to put your stitch markers in. I've also made a little DPN cozy. It still needs its poppers put on it, but I'll do that when I get to work. And I've also made a little pyramid notion pouch. Now I've got 2 sets of these Pokemon goodies, and I know that rather than waiting to Yarndale when Pokemon probably won't be popular anymore, would be a silly thing. So I'm going to be posting those on Monday on my Instagram page, and they will be available for sale. So if you're interested in grabbing yourself some Pokemon knitting goodies, then you can find me on Instagram. I am Arty Farty Mac. So on Monday when I go to work, I'll finish those bits off, photograph them and get them on the Instagram page for you to have a look at. So the last thing to cover tonight is my giveaway for my beginner's crochet course. So lots of you were really lovely and commented that you'd like to have the opportunity to learn to crochet with me. Now, I wanted to read out a list of names, but unfortunately my computer's decided to turn itself off while we've been here. But there was 10 of you altogether who commented in the link to say that they would like to learn to crochet. So in here are 10 little pieces of paper with your names on. So I do my draws old school. I don't do random generator numbers, but I'm just going to pull a name out of my tin cup and we'll see who we get. So we have user Taxi Yarn. So whoever is Taxi Yarn on YouTube, if you are watching this podcast, then please do get in contact with me. Just comment below and we will arrange to get in touch so that I can set you up with your beginner's crochet course and send you out your kit. So congratulations, well done. I will have some more giveaways on my podcast in the next few weeks or so. So if you enjoy a competition and you enjoy a little yarny natter, then do subscribe. Please do leave me any comments that you might have, and I will see you again probably in a couple of weeks. Thanks for watching.